Welcome to another edition of Success Talk. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and each week we bring you incredible people who do incredible things. People who have had obstacles, had challenges, but who've overcome those challenges to make their breakthroughs. And so today we have the international family, Papa, I like to say Papa Bennett. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Well, I tell you, Demonte, it's just a joy to meet you finally, man, because when I look at some of the work you're doing for family wise and, you know, really in the world wise, I'm impressed.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. That means, especially knowing your background and whatnot, that really means a lot. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Worked very hard to get to this point.
Well, you and your family travel around, and that always impresses me because so often people get so stuck on the block. You know,
Yes.
there's a proverb that says that the man who's never left home thinks his mother's the best cook.
That is very true.
Yeah, yeah. And so you travel around all over the country. Where'd you get the idea to travel like that?
Honestly, it came from my wife.
Uh-huh.
Well, when I had signed up for the military, I wanted to travel a bit more, and I thought we would be able to travel, and that just didn't happen. It didn't. It didn't go like that. We got stuck in Yuma, Arizona, and so when I got out, we had decided she was like she just really wanted to start traveling and seeing more parts of the states and the world. And so after 2 years of just working, we decided we were like, you know what? We don't. Let's try it. Let's build out a house and let's see what we can do. Let's travel around and see what happens. And we've been doing it. I think this is we're in May, so we're coming up on our year of actually being in our house, in our mobile house, and just traveling around. So yeah, it's been excellent. It was probably the best decision that we've ever made.
Wow. I'm sure the kids like it.
Oh, they love it. Oh, they love it. They we talk about all the time how their memories are so jumbled based off of how all the places that we've been. They know that we've been to Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and we have pictures of these places. And when they look at the pictures, my youngest will be like, "Was that Utah or was that Colorado?"
Uh-huh.
And we're just like, "Oh, that's awesome!" Like you don't know where it was, but you just remember the memories and you just remember loving it. And yeah, they love the outdoors. They love the. It's been so good for my youngest son. He has kidney issues, so it's been good
Mm.
for his health and just getting his health bolstered up because of just how we eat now and kind of just being more in nature and whatnot. It's been amazing. They love it. They've had
Wow.
so many experiences.
Now it's interesting. Now, do you all carry your own water or you plug in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have my
Yeah.
own. We have two different water systems in our house. I have one for our shower and washing our hands and everything, and then the other one for drinking water. And so we just kind of carry around water and travel with it and pick up water wherever we got to go.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, especially with one of your kids having a kidney issue, that water is so important.
These
Yeah.
boys go through 5 gallons in like 2 days, 2, 3 days.
Mm.
That's the one thing we never have enough of is water.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wow. Well, I tell me a little about your background. Where'd you grow up? I know you're a military family, but where'd you
So
grow up? And
I'm from Riverside, California. I grew up in Moreno Valley. It's in Riverside County. I was there from ages, I think 9 until 18 or 17 when I left to the military. So it's not the best neighborhood. There really weren't many opportunities for us. Growing up, I was very involved into music. I'd always wanted to be known for doing something that was benefiting people. And so early on, I did music and I didn't actually do music myself. I did sometimes, but I would manage a lot of my friends who had good music. They had good ears for music. They could do it, but they didn't have much direction. So I started with doing that. I met my wife. She was doing photography at the time, and we started dating. I think a year before I would join the military, and then we got married right after I joined the military. And we did some videography and photography for a little bit, and then we just ended up transitioning over into, I guess, into teaching about family and parenting.
Well, I think I had this as you were talking. I was thinking like you're really like parenting in motion. Yeah,
And I like that. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's exactly what it is. That's
yeah.
honestly that's exactly what we're doing. We try to everything is surrounded or is focused on our parenting and how we parent, and then how we kind of keep our own relationship alive. And we just built our entire lifestyle around that. We wanted to, because we didn't have as many opportunities as we wanted growing up in Riverside and Middle Valley. We definitely wanted our children to be able to experience more. We knew that they were super talented early on. My oldest, by the age of 4, he was actually he got into acting at one point in time. Um, he's had his own set of viral videos of just talk of him talking and whatnot. And so we knew they were very talented. We didn't know necessarily, we didn't want them to be in an environment where their talent would be squashed out and they wouldn't have a chance to really foster it and grow. And so
Mm.
that's exactly what it was. We decided to put ourselves in motion and go travel around and give them a different experience. That's the perfect saying for it. Parenting emotion. I love that.
Well, well, that used to be the way it was. Wherever the parents went, the kids went, and that was it. When my mother was in graduate school, she took me to school with her. She didn't have
Yes,
anybody else. Like that was a part of the
right.
whole program. Yeah, and she went to Columbia Teachers College, and I remember as a little boy, she let me wander around the campus, and I made up my mind. I must have been 10 or 11 that I'm going to go to that school, and sure enough, I did.
That's
Yeah.
how it works. That's exactly. I feel like, especially in this new age, we don't really fully understand just how much our parents influence us to go down
Mm.
whatever path we go down. That was me. My mother. I remember being 5 or 6 and going to college with my mom and just being in the classroom drawing while they were sitting there doing whatever they were doing, whatever they were learning. I have full memories of that. And next thing you know, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be in college. I was obsessed with going to school. It was a big trajectory for me.
Well, that's so important now. Just being with your parents, being there in that environment. We do workshops and parent empowerment workshops. We had a contract with the Housing Authority and the Department of Social Service, and we were doing workshops on public housing sites and in a few churches. And so we had a separate room set up for the kids. But in the classes, we were doing affirmations and meditations, and the kids, they want to go where the action is.
Yeah.
And one of the most amazing things we told the kids when they came and said, well, okay, you can be in the room with your parents, but if you're in the deal, you got to be in the deal. So
Right.
here's a notebook, here's a yellow pad. And one little kid was about 7. He couldn't even sit. He sat on the floor and put the pad in the chair. And and he was doodling and drawing and whatnot, but he was right into it. And every time we did an affirmation, he's ready. I feel great today. I feel
Oh
great
yeah.
today. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. They love it. Kids,
yeah,
they adapt to the environment. They love it. If mommy and daddy are doing it, why can't I do it? Why?
yeah,
That's my son's motto. Well, if you
uh,
did it, why can't I do it? It's like
yeah. Now, how many kids do you have?
I have three sons, all boys.
Wow. How
Yeah.
now? What ages are there?
So I have a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
10,
They
6.
they
Yeah,
yeah, they're at the perfect ages right now. They I love they're at the most exploratory ages, I think.
yeah,
That's probably that's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah. And they're close enough in age, to kind of be able to bond and work together. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they are best friends. They're best friends or worst enemies, depending on what day it is. But absolutely, like
yeah.
it's the joy of them. They have that growing up together. Me and my wife, we both have siblings, but I think her closest sibling in age is 12 years older than her, and my closest sibling in age is 7 years younger than me. So
Okay.
we didn't get to grow up with that dynamic, but really seeing them have it, it's been amazing, especially with traveling, because it
Yeah,
always gives them someone to relate back to and to have fun with and whatnot and explore with.
yeah. Now I have an interesting question. Everywhere I go, as a matter of fact, my daughter and I were in the Red Lobster, and there was a couple there, and they had 4 kids, and everybody had their cell phone in their face. So I said to my daughter, I said, well, who are they texting? And she said, each other. What? Now, how do you handle the cell phone thing with your kids?
We don't even, so they each, all three of them have a tablet, but they only get about an hour of tablet time a day at max.
Uh-huh.
Normally, what we our normal day will look like, we'll wake up probably around, well, me and my wife will wake up around like 5 or 6. Then they'll wake up around 7 or 8. They start with reading. They get breakfast done because they're homeschooled too. So we
Yeah.
start. They hop in and they go right to school. They go to school, get their reading done, get their math done, and then after that they go and they play. And these boys, they play outside of the playgrounds they'll play for hours just playing tag. So
Uh-huh.
it's not until about the sun about yeah, it's not until really when the sun comes down that they start to get on their tablets and play. Most of
Hmm.
the time, they don't. They get lost in play that they forget about their tablets
Yeah. And playing with kids.
and play exactly. That there's nothing that beats that. We were just at the yesterday at the park, and we were there from I think like 12 in the afternoon until 6 o'clock, and they were just playing tag with all the kids that were coming in back and forth, just the whole time. No one asked
Yeah.
for a tablet. No one
Yeah.
asked for screen time. That's how it is most days. We don't.
Well,
We don't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, no. I was just thinking your kids were probably leading the pack because probably most of the other kids spend all their time looking in the phone or looking in the tablet. And your kids are
That is,
like, hey, you can actually play.
you know what? That's probably exactly what it is because they are majority of the time they're the leaders. When we went to Mexico for 3 months and we spent some time at a one of the RV parks down there, and it was their first time really being around other kids that traveled, and they were the leaders of the pack. I went
Hmm.
outside and they were the only brown skinned children, of course, and they
Hmm.
have locks, so they stand out. But they were leading everybody. Everybody was doing what they were doing. Everybody's doing what the Bennetts are doing. And it's just like it's amazing to see, and I love their lack of need for screen time. They don't need it. They know they don't need it. They get bored with it, which I love that. I love that they get bored with it. They don't, but when they do have their time on it, that's their time. They know that's their time. We're not going to go too much time. We don't want to do too much. They know their limitations. They accept it. We talk a lot to them about the effects of screen time and how we don't fully know how it's going to shift their brains within the next 10 years and whatnot. So they need
Mm.
to be careful. And so
Yeah.
they're very aware of these things.
Well, as I was looking at, I think some law firm here is bringing a case, a class action lawsuit against Google and Instagram, saying that they're causing the children to have anxiety and mental issues. And when you think about it, Demonte, uh, that you that was foreseeable. you
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So,
Absolutely.
mm,
Uh, that's what's. I mean, my generation itself, we were raised off television. A lot of us watched too much TV, and it's like
yes,
just knowing what we got off of TV, and now they have like they don't have commercials.
no,
They don't have commercials. They have instant access to everything. It's just
yeah,
it's dangerous. It's very dangerous,
and
and
it
it's like we
goes with
talk,
them, because
and it goes with them.
yeah, we used to have to go home when I was a kid. We had the only TV on the block,
Right.
and so so that was the day when you had to have a pole in the yard with an antenna. Okay,
Right. Everyone's got to come watch it at one time. If you miss that episode, it's over.
that's it.
Man, they
No
don't have
replay.
that. Exactly.
No,
And they don't have
yeah,
that. I feel like that created at least a balance for we didn't have it wasn't like this. Access wasn't just right there. Now, like you said, they take it with them. They can get it. They luckily we're very fortunate that we have internet with us while we travel. They don't get to use their tablets typically most of the time while we're traveling, especially not in the car. But they have access if they needed it.
yeah,
Nowadays, kids they have it for school. You have the tablet for school. You have the tablet for play, for everything's on
yeah,
their tablet.
yeah,
They had a lot
yeah.
of their friends that were about like 7 to 8 kids already texting on there. My sons have no idea how to text, like they don't know how to do it, and
Wow.
these kids were already texting, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like, it's a different lifestyle.
Well, Your kids are probably the only kids on the planet that don't text.
I look honestly, the more and
Yeah,
more I'm starting to see that, it's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
seems like the only ones who don't.
But tell us a little about your organization, the whole idea of the international family. How did it get started? And, like you blew it up. And you want to tell a little about that. Yeah.
We've been doing it. So it's not international, it's the intentional family.
And I got you. Intentional.
So what we started with, or we started it out with we called ourselves the Bennett gang at first. We just kind of started with doing kind of just showing our lifestyle. When we first got onto social media, we started to realize that the way that we parent and the way that we kind of teach our children was different from a lot of other people, and there weren't many examples of it online. So
Mhm.
my wife decided for us to start showcasing a little bit more and talking more about what we did and or what we do as a family. And it eventually evolved from just us doing kind of just going out doing family skits and talking about it to us really teaching people about how to have an intentional family, how to really live intentionally, how to do things with a purpose, raise your children with a purpose, build your marriage with a purpose, not so that people are just not going through life kind of without a purpose, with no real direction. That was I think for the first 5 years of our marriage, we were kind of just going through marriage and parenting without any serious direction and no real guidance. And it wasn't until we were actually fortunate enough to get classes while I was in the military that our minds started to shift on how we parent, how we looked at parenting, how we looked at providing, how we looked at building our own marriage and relationship. And so we've just been trying to take the knowledge that we've gained and that we continue to gain. We were both in school, but we've since stopped for a bit. We want to go back, but my wife did early childhood development and I did child psychology, and just the basics of what we learned in there were so life changing that we just wanted to be able to start sharing it more with other people. And so since then we've started recently doing workshops for helping couples fight through trust issues and infidelity and stuff of that nature. I'm actually a martial arts instructor. So we've also started now adding in, trying to teach mothers and children more self-defense and more discipline along those aspects. Personally, I work with fathers and husbands. We do men's health workshops, just a lot of just kind of spreading information and getting people to start thinking differently. And I think we've had that intentional family for about 5 months now. It's really been trying to build with it, but it's taken off dramatically. It's reached a lot of people. We've already done about 4 workshops. One of them a men's health workshop, 3 of them trust issues workshops, and we're working on our 5th and 6th workshop coming up. We have another book coming out. We have I think 2 books. Well, my wife has 3 books. Hey, we have a lot. The brand
Yeah,
has been
yeah.
building quite a bit.
Now you online. You're on now. You had some videos go viral.
Yes, we have had we've had so me myself, I think I've had about 5 or 6 videos go viral. My wife has had about 40. She she has been well known as Mama Bennett. She her on TikTok specifically, a lot of her videos, what she has the ability, or what she does a lot of times, is she'll record the interactions with our sons when we're trying to parent or trying to discipline them or anything of that nature. And she does a lot of, it's not much more, it's not as much yelling, and
Uh-huh.
it's as it is talking and really trying to help solve the problem that the child has. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people really connect to that. And we've heard probably our favorite comment, or our most relevant comment that we get, is, if I was parented like that, I would be a different person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that really strikes home for us. It's like, that's uh, we see that there's a lot of damage going on from how we were raised, how other people were raised, that we can, if we had more knowledge at the time, if people had given us more knowledge or given our parents more knowledge, there would have been different situations, different outcomes. And so a lot of times her videos will go viral just based off of how she's connecting with our sons, both of us.
Hmm.
And then we also have a lot of videos that go viral based on how me and her have connected and built our relationship. We do a lot
Wow.
of like 3 ways to build intimacy in your marriage. And it'll just talk
Okay.
about 3 things that we do. And a lot of people will connect with it. A lot of people will share, reshare, and just You know, it really resonates with how they're feeling.
Now, we often hear the term "go viral." What does that mean in numbers? Because I hear it, and as you were talking, I'm like, I know that going viral means a lot of people see it, but what does that mean in numbers and in process?
So for us, for specifically for me, my page is a lot smaller than hers. So for me going viral, if more than I'd say about 15 to 6 or not even say 15, 16, if more than about 30 to 40,000 people see it, if that's what the views are, then it's considered I consider that a viral video. It's gotten through, a lot of people have seen it. For
Uh,
her, most of her videos reach about 1 million views.
wow.
Yeah, it's insane. She has her resume of viral videos. It's just it's bonkers. Her videos will reach about 1 million people, and that'll be 1 million people with I think about 1 million likes, probably around somewhere like 400 to 500 comments. It's just a lot of engagement and a lot of real activity on it. And so whenever I call a video viral, whenever it's gone to about 200,000 people, if it's
Uh,
circulating and people are seeing it, it's a viral video.
and so people actually begin to share it. I think that, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. They start
Uh,
sharing it and it's popped up. A lot of times, what happens often is that our friends, or not our friends, I guess yeah, that would be a good way to put it. Our friends will tell us that a video is viral. They'll be like, "Hey, we just saw you on such and such. We didn't
uh-huh.
know." Like, or somebody who they're acquainted with just showed me your video. Like, it's
Yeah.
like that's how we know. Like, okay, yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
reaching people because it's like I don't know these people. I've never met these people, but if they're telling you about our video, then it's
Yeah.
it's it's getting out there.
Then it must be. So that, yeah, so that is, and then the comments now, how long are your videos normally?
Between 30 to a minute and 30 seconds. They're not long.
Okay, 30 seconds to a minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Okay, and I think that's the key right there, which one of the keys, because it seems that people's attention span,
it's so short.
yeah, yeah,
It is so
uh-huh,
short.
yeah,
It is. That's our most. The videos that do the best for us are the ones that will on the title it says 3 tips for this, and it's a
uh-huh,
minute video. It has really good visuals to it, really appealing, and it has just three like it'll have like step one, step two, step three, and it'll be like
uh-huh.
30, 45 seconds, and people just they can read over it, they can relate to it, they can probably take something away from it, and then they share it.
Wow, yeah, 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 and I can see that yeah, well, you've really mastered, you know, a lot of people try to fight against the current, but you're using social media in a very positive way. And,
Absolutely.
and
That's
see that, yeah.
it's 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 been a very big journey to try to get to it because social media is a very negative place. And so when
Mm,
we first started, I didn't want to be on social media just because I didn't want to be involved in the having people take their time away and scrolling and all that stuff. I didn't want to add to that. But as I
uh,
started seeing how people were really resonating with the content and how they were really like it was helping them. They were like, wow, I needed this. I needed to see this example. It kind of drove us to really understand the impact of those 30 seconds. If people are going to have
yeah,
a short attention span, well, let me
yeah.
at least give you three real positive things that can help you that might help
Uh-huh.
change your day in a minute.
I got you. Now, which is your main platform? Instagram or TikTok or both?
Both, honestly,
Uh-huh.
both.
Uh-huh.
We post a lot more on Instagram because Instagram is where our actual community is. That's where our main
Uh-huh.
community is that we follow.
Uh-huh.
Our TikTok is more of our marketing platform, I guess you could say, because our
Uh-huh.
videos are more likely to go viral on TikTok, and then people will go from TikTok to be like, "Oh, well, where can I see more?" They have
Uh-huh.
an Instagram, and they'll follow from there. So
Okay.
that's kind of how we use the platforms. But I guess I would say our main real focus is our Instagram because
Uh-huh.
that's where our real community is of people that engage us and know who we are. They've been following us.
Yes. Wow. Well, now when you think back, I tell you, Devonte, it's it's unusual to find a couple able to work together in harmony. you know, did you all have any challenges, like any obstacles and
Oh yeah.
breakthroughs before you got to this point of being able to work together?
So many. We've actually so one of the things that brought us together to start dating in the first place was when we met, we had always wanted to start a business together. We had I think we were 14. We tried to start our very first tutoring business together, and it didn't work out just because we were too young, we couldn't get it figured out. When we
Uh-huh.
got married, my wife had already had her business, and it was a photography business, and I tried to kind of find my place in there, and I couldn't. She was We had communication issues. They
Mm,
like it was they were pretty bad. We could not communicate. We would try to I would try to tell her, well, maybe you should do it this way, and it would
mm,
spark into an argument. It wasn't
mm.
until it wasn't until I'd say about year 6 or 7 of our marriage when we started to form our business together and start really
Okay.
focusing on our communication that we got it together. I think within these last 2 years have been our absolute best years because we've been able to communicate so well. And that's one of the biggest things that we focus on with what we teach is just communication. A lot of times, it's ego, especially when you're working with your spouse. Ego
Uh,
gets in the way, especially for me. I'll feel
Uh-huh.
like, hey, I have expertise in certain areas that you don't know anything about. Just listen to me. Let's not argue
Uh-huh.
about it. And
Yeah.
then she'll butt heads and we'll go back and forth. Or at least that's how it used to be. Nowadays, it's more so along the lines of, hey, okay, I trust what you got. I know what you're saying. This is what it is. Well, let me. She'll want to add her input, and I'll listen because I've
Uh-huh.
learned to listen. And then from there, we'll just communicate, toss ideas back and forth, and then put something into action. Our
Mm.
It took a lot of work, a lot of just building on our communication and our friendship outside of the business
Yeah.
before we came back into the business and everything started meshing together.
Well, I have found, I know myself, if you're not, if if you're not friends in a business together, it doesn't work,
It doesn't work.
Yeah. And so that friendship is like number one. Friendship first, then you may be lovers, you may be parents, but you got to have that common ground
You got to have that
outside the
friendship.
business. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was once our friendship really started because she was my best friend before we got married, before we did business and everything together. She really was my best friend. We were probably some of the closest people that I've ever met. We Since I met her, we've been told that we look alike. Her
Hmm.
mom's always treated me like family. We met in church.
Hmm.
We used to do church stuff together. So we've always had a really close bond.
Yeah.
It's just once we got married and whatnot, it was hard to translate that bond over, and we stopped focusing. Once we got became parents, we stopped focusing as much on our friendship and all those aspects. As soon as we started realigning ourselves back to that friendship and adjusting ourselves and just being, like you said, being friends again, oh
Hmm.
man, it opened up so many doors. I honestly don't think we would be successful if we didn't go back to that.
Well, I think you've really scratched the surface on something that many couples have that problem that, once you have kids, you have jobs, you have professions, all of those things begin to like take up your time.
Yeah, they
And I
tear it
like you
up.
said, yeah, the intentional. It takes up your intention. It takes your intentional space, so that
Exactly.
that's all you're focusing on. And anything that you don't focus on withers. Anything you focus on grows. So, wow,
But
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's that's basically our whole that is the foundation of our business right there is exactly that. Trying to get people to take their attention off of especially when it comes to men, for me specifically, is really trying to get men to start taking our focus out of the workspace
Mm-hmm.
and focus more so on our home space. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's what when I was working in both the military and when I was working in the civilian sector, the men a lot of times, oftentimes we were stellar at work, but they were coming home and they were stressed out. They were stressed
Yes.
out at home. They weren't getting along with their wives, and then that would lead to them having a bad day at home, coming into work having a bad day, and it was always a cycle. And it's
Yeah.
like exactly that. When we start taking our attention and putting it more in on our marriage, on our family, on the stuff that really that we're doing all this work for in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
then we can start having that flourish. That can start to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. That I tell you that that focus, and it's so easy to get focused on the stuff, that's going on, like kids, and people often have like a date night, and sometimes the date night is spent discussing the problems of the other 6 nights.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. It gets
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Now, did there ever come a time when you all maybe thought of breaking up, or
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
throw in the towel?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When we were in the military, our first 5 years of marriage were horrible. I think we actually at our last workshop we were just talking about this. We tossed around the divorce word so many times. It was tossed around. It was always a back and forth type thing. It was always a well, I'm gonna divorce you. That was like our threat to each other. And it wasn't until we really sat down and decided like, nah, I want to be with you. We're gonna work this out. We have to figure this out. We tossed out that divorce word. It became basically all or nothing. Either we're
Yeah,
gonna figure this out, or if we don't figure this out in a certain amount of time, then we'll call it quits. But I'm not gonna say anything about it until we put in the work.
yeah,
And once we started putting in the work, man, it was just like, okay, I definitely don't want to be divorced. You're my best friend. I love
uh-huh,
this. We're getting things
yeah,
together. It's getting better. It
yeah,
was it was definitely hard
yeah,
for where there have been times, especially while we were in the military, where we had been separated. She would go back home. We were stationed in Arizona at the time, and so she would go home to California for a week or two at a time. I think the first year we were married, she wasn't living with me for the whole year just because we couldn't communicate. We were having issues. It was definitely a challenge, but I truly believe that if we didn't go through that challenge. That's what we say all the time. We say this consistently because it's God, God works in mysterious ways. He
yeah,
works in
yeah,
crazy ways. And
yeah,
so now that we're on the other side of it and we are married, we have this great marriage and this great teamwork. It's like, whoa, that's a testimony. We just look
yeah.
back at it like that was the testimony right there. So we could do this work was us having to go through all the trouble, all the trauma.
Well, they say you can't have a testimony without a test.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Exactly that. That
yeah,
was the
yeah,
test. Oh man,
yeah,
we laugh about it now. Like
yeah,
we feel there's times where I feel bad because we do trust issues
yeah,
workshops. So we're talking about infidelity and things like that. It's a heavy topic, but we're
yeah,
laughing. We're
yeah,
teaching and we're laughing. We're laughing
yeah,
about some of these things. It's like, yeah, nah, we've been there. We've done
yeah,
that. I know what you're talking
yeah,
about, but it's like
yeah,
it's the test.
yeah, yeah. It's the test. And I guess at some point, I think the key is to make a decision. In our book, in the 12 Universal Laws of Success, there are 2 chapters, 3 chapters that I call the foundation. And the one is the law of thought, what you think about in your heart, you become. The law of
Absolutely.
change, that you can change your life by changing your thinking. And then the law of vision, that you got to see it. Where there's no vision, the people perish. And so you have to have a vision of what you want to be, do, or have. You have to make a decision to change. Okay. And then you have to do it. Wow. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it right there. That's the foundation. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's
Yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah.
That was the only way it went through. It wasn't until when we stopped being how we put it half foot in, half foot out the door. When we stopped
Yeah.
doing that, and we started being intentional. We started putting all of our attention towards building, and this is what we want, and going after the vision that we saw.
Yeah.
It that made the change. It's like they said, it's like steps.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Well, when I think about intentionality, and as you're sharing how you all made these, it seems that one of the byproducts is to prioritize, what's really, really important to you and to your spouse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was one of the things. I feel like that was one of the biggest reasons why in the military we had so many problems was because I could not prioritize. It was very hard to try to prioritize family over work because I was on a contract. They weren't. If it didn't matter if it was 9 o'clock at night and I'm asleep. If they needed me at work, I had to get up and go. And it
Yeah.
was like she didn't like that, and
Hmm.
she didn't feel prioritized. She didn't feel like the family was coming first. And it's like you said, once I started prioritizing what I really wanted, what really mattered to me, then it was easier to make those decisions and be intentional about it.
Wow, that's beautiful. So where do you see your organization going now? This movement, because it's really a movement,
It,
it's
it
it's
is.
really, yeah, yeah.
It really is. It's funny. My friend had asked me this about a month ago. He asked me whether or not I thought that I would be able to see the full fruits of what we're doing in my lifetime. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to. The vision that I have for it, I feel like this is the work that we're doing. I really do feel like it's life changing. It could really change the foundation of a lot of marriages and get people to really stick it out and create happier homes. And knowing that that's the possibility, I know the amount of work that takes. And so I just see that like our goal is essentially to be able to affect not only the parents but parents and the children, and then affect it generations to come. So
Mm,
I would hope that, or my I guess my whole vision for it would be for within the next 20 years, there's a list that we have a list of families that, oh yeah, you've helped our marriage, you've helped do this, and now our children are also in another position to where they're growing, they're doing more, we're being more intentional with them, and it's creating, raising more, the next generation is already adept at being able to communicate with each other, have successful marriages, have successful children. I try to think, I guess, 7 generations ahead. So
mhm,
in 7 generations, is this gonna be able to last? And I honestly think that our movement will. I feel like it will have been able to really impact and do some real life changing, some real world changing stuff, which I'm very
mm,
humbled to even be able to say that
yeah.
and like even think that, because I never, when I was a kid, all I ever wanted to do was just help people. And so the scale that I'm able to do it at this point is just, it's mind blowing,
Remember?
especially when like we have people from our last workshop, our last 2 workshops. One of them we had someone from Cuba. He couldn't even answer. He couldn't even really get onto the workshop because they don't have Zoom in Cuba. And then we had another person from Brazil. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, the fact that we're touching people internationally, we're doing this, our message is being heard.
Uh-huh.
That it's waves. I can't fully comprehend at this point where we're going to be at, what it could be. I just know it's going to be great. It's going to be something
Mm.
that really does impact people and families.
So you do the workshops on Zoom. Have you all done them also in person?
We have not done them in person yet. We're hoping to do our first in person one at the not I want to say around the August timeframe, because we're going to be leaving for summer. So we're going to be traveling again for summer. So when we come back, we're hoping to have, we've been trying to make some more community connections to allow us to have a building and a space so that we
Uh-huh.
can host the workshops.
Now, as a road dog, where do you spend your summer?
Oh man, this year we're going to Idaho. We're going to Idaho and Wyoming. We're gonna
Okay.
make a trip up there. We've never been up to that area, so we're gonna just make a trip through there for a couple of months and then make our trip back down. I actually have a It's funny because right in the middle of summer we have to go to New Mexico, and I know it's gonna be hot
Yeah, yeah,
down there,
yeah.
but we have I have a world tournament for martial arts down there the day after my birthday. So we're going to be traveling back down through there
Uh-huh.
and checking out New Mexico for a little bit. And then hopefully probably headed back up again towards like the Idaho area.
Well, that whole area is so beautiful. And you spent time in Utah. Utah has, I mean, I look at the terrain and some of the physical just
It's
structures.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it's like I keep asking, like, how did this come about? Like
man. Oh my
yeah.
goodness. We saw the Grand Canyon about 2 weeks ago for the
Uh-huh.
first time. And I promise we were looking out at the canyon and I was like, this doesn't look real. This looks
Uh-huh.
like they have a backdrop. Like they have a
Yeah.
picture of a canyon and a
Yeah.
background.
Yeah. Can you imagine when the settlers got there and they came and they saw that? I mean, I could see right then the person going like, "Hey, this is it. This is the end of the world, man. There ain't nothing else.
Yeah, there's nothing more to go. Yep,
There's nothing
absolutely.
more to go." Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in Utah. A company I work with is in Utah, and so when I go to a business meeting, I'd always try to plan a time to rent a car and hit the road and just
Yes.
go. And everything is so close. You'll be in Salt Lake City, and in a half hour, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, And that
just
Zion
nature.
Park, it's like, man, like it's almost like God had a big canvas and said, let me put this over here. Let me paint this over there.
Oh my God, that's exactly what that's
Yeah,
exactly what it's like.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I look at some of the creation, like man, like
yeah,
that's what I was telling my sons the other day. I was like, you cannot fathom, like we can't fathom how God created this. Like just
yeah,
look at it, like just
yeah,
look at this.
yeah,
Could
yeah,
you create this? I'm like man,
yeah. Have you given any thought, or you all at institutionalizing it? You all have so many learning messages, so many lessons to really, I think when you look toward the future, to really institutionalize it where you do the train the trainer, that break
that
it
is my
down.
goal.
Yeah,
That is what I want, especially for that's what I want for us. That's what I've been telling her for the last year now, that once we really start gathering all this together, we
hmm,
can teach people to go out and continue this work and go through
yeah,
with it. And that is the next level that we're looking for, because
yeah,
that's what I want to do. I love teaching. I love being able to help train others to learn this. I feel like
yeah,
this information it's too vital
yeah,
for it should just be us that's teaching it and giving this message out. This has to be a network. There has to be other people that are able to give this information out and whatnot. I would love to one day have a school, honestly, if I could.
Well, you can. I mean, if you're gaining numbers like that, then that means that there's a need for it. That people, you almost like hit a harmonic, like as a musician. When you hit a chord, it sounds differently. You can sing the same 4 or 5 notes individually, and they sound one way. But when they come together in a chord, it's like, whoa, the
Oh
overtone.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, in your marriage, one of the things I think that really interferes with relationships and marriages and anything is distractions. How did you handle distractions in your marriage and when you all were going through that stage of, getting to know each other? And even now, that you're on this journey, how do you handle distractions?
Honestly, I try. It's simple. It's so simple, but I try. I I guess the formula would be I identify whatever it is that's distracting me, and if it's not in line with my goals, I try to just cut it out.
I got
Social
you.
media, that's one
Yeah.
of our biggest ones, especially because we work on social media. So we are on each other about how much screen time that we're actually taking. I went through a
Yeah.
few times, and
Yeah.
if it's anything that's not helping me advance towards my goals, I
Yeah.
unfollowed it. I think the
Yeah.
only thing on my timeline right now is like martial arts stuff because I
Uh-huh.
train
Yeah.
martial arts.
Yeah.
Like that if I'm on there scrolling for all of 10 minutes, it's nothing but stuff that's gonna help me get out. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
If I see him doing 100 kicks and I'm
Yeah.
scrolling, I feel
Uh-huh.
bad. I'm like, okay, I need to go do 100 kicks. I need
Uh-huh.
to go keep
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
I guess
that's
it's like working in a bar, as a bartender.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just like we just try to. I do my. I try to keep phones away from when we don't need phones. Try to spend as much time on nature. I think being in the road, that's part of one of the biggest reasons as to why we got the tiny house when we built the tiny house, was because it allows us to limit distractions. I'm with them 24/7. Like we're
Yeah.
always in a small area together, so we're
Uh-huh.
always spending constant time together. So
Yeah.
it's harder to be distracted in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
li-
can see
I
I
really
can
had
see it
to.
now. You say go to your room, like I'm in my room.
No, exactly that. We'll be like, guys, go upstairs, go upstairs to your room,
Uh,
and they're like, okay, we're in here. I can still
uh,
hear them.
yeah.
They're right above me. I
Wow.
still hear them.
Yeah.
If the sound's a little bit
Yeah.
less, but I still
Yeah.
hear them.
Yeah. But I think that's a part of your success because we are like, vibrational human beings. We need to be around one another. It
Exactly.
changes us when we're around one another. Yeah.
These these boys, I tell my wife all the time, like we talk about, like that's the reason why
Uh-huh.
they're young, but they're so mature because
Yeah.
of the conversations that they hear us having, the
Yeah.
conversations that my youngest or my youngest, my oldest, he has this thing where he acts like he can't. He hears everything. I know he hears everything. So
Uh-huh.
if he hears any slight conversation that he might possibly try to get into, he gonna
Uh-huh.
comment. He's gonna
Uh-huh.
comment. He's gonna bring in his opinion, and we'll
Uh-huh.
talk about it. If
Yeah.
it's something we can talk about, we'll talk about
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
he's influenced by us all the time. That's
yeah,
the biggest influence. So
wow,
he's learning as we're learning. He's growing as we're growing, but he's because he's so young, he's taken it to the next level. He's his vibration is gonna be higher than mine. I tell him all the time, like you're by the time you're my age, you're gonna be doing so much more than I'm doing just because of what you're around. I
yeah,
wasn't around this growing up.
yeah,
You're growing up in this. You know how to we know how to be close to each other and be close to one another and still not get on each other's nerves. We know when we
gotcha.
need a break, we can read these things. Like
Yeah,
it's so wonderful.
that's amazing, and because when I look at the kids today who spend so much time on the phones and the computers, and even the adults, I think it diminishes your ability to communicate, to talk to another human being.
Absolutely.
And I have this belief that we've become more and more violent. There's a Chinese proverb, and it says, "He who runs out of words casts the first stone." And
Yes.
yeah,
Wow. That
yeah,
hit. Yeah.
yeah.
That
And
that's
so
that's
if you
exactly
can't
it.
communicate, you're gonna fight.
You're
And
gonna
we
fight.
see it. Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's
I tell
man.
you,
That
yeah,
I've never heard that proverb, but that proverb strikes in so many layers. That's exactly what it is. It's
yeah, yeah,
every time. That's what we train for in martial arts. Martial
yeah,
arts is we focus on exactly that. It's use your words. You
yeah,
can use your fists, but that's
yeah.
last minute.
That's the
You
last
better have a
resort.
mouthpiece, right? You better
Yes,
be able to talk
yeah,
yourself out of every situation. Learn how to
yes,
use your
yes,
words.
yes, yeah. Wow. I tell you, wow, Devonte, if you look back now, because your journey has been so far, there are a lot of people who can take a journey and they bring everything along with them. It's like a it's like not really a journey because they're still the same people.
Right.
Yeah. But you all have taken such a journey together. If you look back to those early days, maybe when you were coming out of high school, just sort of getting started, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh man. I patience. Learn patience and learn how to communicate. Patience and communication. Because me early on, I grew up in a household where that was exactly it. My parents used to run out of words, and it was just straight to yelling and arguing, and that's how the household I grew up in. So by the time I had became married and I was in the military, that's we couldn't communicate. If I ran out of words, I'm yelling. And it was
Yeah.
exactly that. It was like that's not getting you anywhere else. If I had to learn to communicate and really express myself and then have patience and oh man, more trust in God. That would be the
Yeah.
other one.
Yeah.
Because those three things, especially in my now, those are part of my day-to-day life. I trust I trust God all the way down to it can look like I we've been in situations where we don't know where money's coming from. We don't know what's going on, and out of the blue, $200 just snaps up from out of nowhere, and it's like
Yes.
I forget, like, oh man, it's God. If He wants
Yes.
me to have something, He gonna give it to me. You
Yes.
can't tell Him no. Like
Yes.
I might not understand it, but it's gonna come. Like, okay, let me just trust on Him because He's gonna take after me. He's gonna look after me. He's always got my back, and then just having the patience to realize that and not stress. A lot of times early on, I used to stress about little things often, and all those little things they would always iron themselves out. I just wasn't patient enough, or I wasn't
Mm.
communicating enough. And so
Yeah.
once I started learning how to do those things, oh my gosh, it
Wow.
changed everything. It was just a almost a 180 in my life, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I really my younger self, I tell her all the time, like I don't even recognize myself because I'm like I look at it how I was talking or how I was acting, I'm like, what
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that? What was I doing?
He said, he said, I don't know who that guy is, man.
That ain't me. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know my daughter asked me one time, we were in New York, and I have kids like in different generations, like for 50, 30,
Yeah.
So, so, uh, my daughter said to me one day, she says, Dad, she says, uh, when you were this age, what were you like? I said, baby, I was dumb as hell.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I said,
Oh
Lord,
man.
I tell you, I
We
said,
have one viral video that
uh-huh,
that we post because we had it was an argument that me and my wife had at one point where she had recorded it and we posted it the then and now. And I look back at the then video and I'm just like, woo, you were dumb. Like, dumb. What were you
Yeah.
even saying? Like, it didn't even
Yeah.
make any sense. You were
Yeah.
dumb. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, man. Well,
I feel like though
let's
that's what shows the growth. That's what really hits me though. That like, oh, okay,
yeah.
yeah, you've grown.
Yeah.
You've grown
Yeah.
into a better person. You're good. You're
Yeah.
doing better.
Yeah. Well, even my daughter said, she said, Dad, she says, you're a much better father now than you were when I was a child, you know. Like, and I accept that, like some people want to buy. I have an uncle that if you told him that, he would want to debate.
Yeah, right, right. About whether or not, yeah, whether or not
Yeah.
what I did back then. Yeah,
Yeah. What do you mean I was a much better? I sent you to private school. I did this. I did the other. He debated. And I'm like, she said, yeah. I said, thank you, honey. I appreciate that. And, if you want to share what makes me better, fine. But I'm just glad you feel that way.
right.
And yeah. She said, well, you listen. She said, you make me feel like what I say is important. Wow. Okay,
That's
baby.
huge.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
big right there. That
Yeah.
for me, like that's one of those things where I feel like fatherhood, parenting, these things we should be better.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you should absolutely be telling me I'm better. Like, don't tell
Yeah.
me anything else.
Yeah.
Let me know. Yes, you're better than you were. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
I was going to be. That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
be.
Wow. Now, I have a couple questions, and then I want to get your website and everything. If you look down, you all are on a trajectory right now. It's like a huge trajectory. I mean, the things that you all are doing through the internet, you're able to impact thousands and even hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, which is amazing. Like they're very, and you have a good message to get out there. And so if you look down the line 20, 25 years from now, where you want to be at that point, what advice would you give your current self from where you think you'll be 25 years from now?
That's a good question. That's a great question. That man, you know what? I'm gonna give myself almost the same advice. Get more patience, because that's what even now I need more patience. I need more patience. I know I need
Yeah.
more patience because that's what every time I wait and I'm patient, good things happen. Whenever I
Mm,
stress and I choose not to that's patience and aligning myself more with God. Those two things, and then man, just doing it. Have more faith in myself.
hmm
Just go ahead and do it. A lot of times that's what holds me back is I won't have enough patience.
hmm
Destination because now the situation has arisen where it's like, okay, I need to do this now, and then I don't trust myself, or I won't work. I'll worry too much about whether or not I'm doing it right. Whereas if I just do what I can and trust God that He's gonna do the rest, because that's what's been going on. I've been doing what I can, and God's been, all right, you did something, here
Yeah.
you go. All right, you did
Yeah.
something else, here you go.
Yes. Yes.
So I
Wow.
feel like that's gonna be it right there. That's what's gonna carry
Yeah.
me through these. Once I've mastered that, I
Yeah.
told my wife recently. I've been in the last year of this of just traveling and everything has really been a learning to unquestionably trust God. Just unquestionably just trust that He's gonna make a way. And the more and more, the less that I stress, the more I'm patient with things happening, the more things come. There's been days where it's like I don't know. Tomorrow it looks like we're not gonna have enough gas,
Uh-huh.
and tomorrow will come, and so will a $200 check that I
Uh-huh.
didn't know was gonna that I don't know
Yeah.
where it came from.
Yes.
like,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
like, okay, I got gas again. All right, what was I
Yeah.
worried about for? What I
Yeah.
take that time yesterday, that energy worrying about? I should do something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Well, you so often, you when people achieve great success, they'll come up and at one point a lady said, she said, everybody always says that. The first, I want to thank God. And she said it like that's just like a habit. They're not really thankful to God. But I know a lady was receiving an award and she said, look, I want to thank God. She said, because this ain't nothing but God.
Yep.
She said,
Man,
she said, when
man.
I, yeah, when I got this role that I got that brought me to stardom, she said I had 81 cents in my bank account. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
Every time. That's exactly what it is. That's what it is. It's like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
if I don't give I can't say that I did this. I can't I
Yeah.
looking back at who I was, who
Yeah.
I am now, all these things, ain't no way
Yeah.
I could have did this by myself. There's no way. Demonte, I was
Yeah.
dumb. I was dumb as hell.
Well, I had a testimony today, man. Some situations happened, and some checks were deposited that I did not know were going to be deposited, and and I mean not a little bit of money, a substantial amount of money.
Nope.
And man, I woke up early this morning. I'm like, oh man, you know how you look at the thing on your phone, and I got out the bed. I was perturbed, and like you said, man, the one thing I have found, and I'm sure is is to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be
Yeah.
honest with yourself,
Yeah.
and the person who made the mistake, you know, it's like, hey, uh, I don't need this to happen right now. Like I wish you hadn't done that. And they were like, oh, I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, no problem, no problem. Let's fix it. You know, and then I had a backup plan, and it's funny when things happen to follow through. I had a backup plan, so once the initial thing was handled, then there was that thing where like, okay, let's keep rolling. But then my backup plan was like, hey, if that happened, you need to take care of this over here so that you're in a better position.
Yep.
And man, I went in, and the person who I needed to see happened to be there.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, okay. When I s- I stated what I needed, and they said, "Well, here, take more."
Yep.
I walked out of there, man, just shaking my head, and I kept thinking about that. Ain't nothing but God.
Ain't
Ain't
nothing
nothing
but
but God.
God.
I had all I did was, so many times God is like a pump. When you're in the country, and you have the
Yes.
pump, and God is like prime. You have the capacity to prime the pump, but God is the one that does the pumping.
That does the pumping, right? No, exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And it's
But you
like
got to
like
do
that.
your part.
That's all you gotta do. Do your part.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
man, like you said, be it. Oh my gosh, that's I had an exact one today that
Uh-huh.
just like that. We had our tax lady. I've been doing my own taxes for as long as I can remember. And for
Uh-huh.
my mother-in-law sent me to a tax lady this year, and
Uh-huh.
she told me about a week ago. She was like, she hasn't been responding. She hasn't been letting me know any information. I've been trying to get
Uh-huh.
an update. She told me a week ago. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. Haven't done anything. No updates. But you owe. So I'm trying to work on that to put it down." And I'm
Uh-huh.
looking. I'm like, I owe. I
Oh.
haven't owed ever. I've never owed. What are you talking about? I
Uh-huh.
owe. I'm ready
Uh-huh.
to owe. I went and got something. Something told me he was like, "Why are you trusting someone else to do your taxes?
Uh-huh.
You've been doing it. Trust
Uh-huh.
yourself."
Yeah.
Went and did it myself. I looked. I was like, "What is shit? I don't already. I'm getting more than what I thought. I'm good. I'm good. I should have never said anything. I should have. If I had
Yeah.
did this months ago, I'd be like, oh my gosh, if I had just did this months ago, I would have had no problem.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
When this
Wow.
stress never came, all I had to do was prime the pump. That's all I
Wow.
had to do, just prime.
Oh man. I tell you. You know, Devontae, everybody does until you've had that, until you primed that pump and seen it work. There are people who doubt, and I guess that's what doubt. Christ, the master teacher, said, "If you tell this mountain to be cast into the sea and doubt not, that which you say will come to
Will
pass."
come to pass.
Yeah, so
That's
doubt is
that's
what
the doubt.
kills us. Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
killer. Yep, doubt is the
mm,
killer. Absolutely.
wow,
Oh man,
yeah,
doubt is
yeah,
doubt is the killer. That's and
right.
that I think that's the biggest thing right there that I'm trying to that in my next 20 years, if I can just conquer doubt,
Hmm.
man, it's gonna be a whole different ball game because there's no once I've conquered doubt, it's over. There's
That's
nothing
it.
to kill it. That's it.
Well, I think you're disciplined in martial arts. I'm a, well, I guess I'm a microwave martial artist.
Hey, martial arts is martial arts. Look,
Years
microwave or
ago,
not.
you know, I studied. I was I enrolled in a karate class and whatnot, and I wasn't disciplined. And the first time the guy hit me, I was like, I'm out of here. So, but later on in life, I really found that you gotta having an understanding of how to do stuff was important, and if you were afraid as a man, it really controls some of your actions and
Yes.
definitely your reaction. And so I took a course with a guy named James Nelson. And if you can imagine, he was a drill sergeant, he was a Marine. But you
Oh
ever meet
yeah.
one of these
Oh
little
yeah.
guys he was only like 5'5".
Oh, this is the worst one. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, maybe weighed 150 pounds, but he was one of those little guys, and they will tear you up. And he had a course called Dirty Fighting.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so I took his course. I stayed in that course. And from that point on, all throughout life, that was always my fallback. Like when we ran out of words, I ain't running. Okay.
Exactly. Look, exactly
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Exactly
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. But the discipline of the martial arts, you think that was a benefit in dealing with the things in your life, your personal life, and your family life?
Absolutely. I think my sensei has been a true blessing to me. She has one of the best advice that she had ever given me was, especially when it came to my marriage, where she told me just to do everything for my wife. She was like, just do everything for her. And at the time, I was like, why would I do everything for her? I
Hmm.
didn't understand that. And it wasn't until I started doing everything for her, I started really serving her,
Yeah.
everything started changing. The whole just dynamic of everything, our communication, how she was loving on me, how she felt about me, everything changed. And it was from me being able to have that just that guidance and that,
Hmm.
like you said, that discipline, that that person, the not even that person, that oh yeah, that person, that trainer who really she's invested in me, she's trained me, she's taught me everything that she's taught me about the martial arts, about the discipline of it, has translated to the real world. It's all
Mm.
translated
Yeah.
to from my confidence level to, like you
Uh-huh.
said, knowing how to do things, knowing
Uh-huh.
the right tool, the right versions of self defense, the right whatever it is that you need to do to get the
Uh-huh.
job done. It's given me such a mental fallback, essentially,
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
fall back on mentally,
Yeah.
and really
An advantage, really, a mental advantage.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
one hundred
Yeah.
percent.
Wow. Now, did you get a chance to read the book or see some? Did they send you the book?
I'm still working on the digital copy. I didn't get the
Okay.
actual copy of the physical copy of it yet, but I am still working on the digital copy.
Okay. Well,
You
okay.
have
Well,
that one.
I'll check with my staff, but I think it'll fit right in with what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, it has so far. I love it.
Uh,
I just based off the title of it, I
uh,
already knew it was gonna be something. Just it's foundation. It really it puts a lot of things into a perspective of what I'm doing, and
yes.
it's
Yeah.
I love it.
Beautiful.
I greatly appreciate you for the book, Dr. Harris.
I mean, well, my pleasure. Well, good brother, good intentional family. What is your website? How can people contact you? What's the
At
best? Uh-huh.
www.thatintentionalfamily.com.
Thatintentionalfamily.com.
Yep.
Wow, beautiful. And
That will
what's
have
your? Yeah.
all of our everything.
Uh-huh. And that links up to all your other Instagram and all
Yep,
your
it'll
other.
have our
Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram, our Facebook, everything will be right on there. And it's
Beautiful.
right now that's our main place right now. We're trying to get everyone to kind of funnel into that because
Yeah.
we want to start putting out more news blogs, more information for people to have access to.
Yeah.
We're trying to move off of Instagram and social media. We know it's still a big thing, but we want to be
Yeah.
able to really access people from another our own platform and whatnot,
Yeah.
our own rules,
Yeah.
essentially.
Well, what I'm learning now is that once you meet the people through Instagram, then you can form a better relationship, a deeper relationship, with other contact points with email, text, and
Yes.
videos, and then person to person, So uh, I think that the social media, those tools are great, but to really get the bang of it, to take it to that next level, to use it almost like it's a feeder, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, my brother, this has been one of the most enjoyable interviews I have enjoyed. You have shared so much, and we're gonna get this edited and get it up because very soon, because so many young couples right now just don't know what to do,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and without intentionality, they many of us don't even know that you have to be intentional about figuring it out.
Right. No, right. Exactly
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Exactly that.
yeah. Wow.
It's a
Okay.
choice. It is 100%. It's a choice to sit there and yeah, to figure it out. Like, hey,
Yeah.
man, look, we're figuring this out. We want this. We got to do it. We're gonna be intentional about it. Absolutely,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
Well, any final words before we wrap up?
Oh, Dr. Harris, man, I greatly appreciate. Like, I I tell you what, it was mind blowing when I got this. I got the interview, and then when I
Uh-huh.
started reading up in the last conversation we had, I was like, oh, this is God. This is one of those things where this is God. I was like, this man is doing what I want to be doing. Like I'm like, oh God, this is it.
Uh-huh.
This is where I'm gonna learn. So I'm
Uh,
truly grateful for even this opportunity, and I just thank you so much. I think
well,
it was very empowering. It definitely it helped. I feel so much more confident, even more in what I'm doing, hearing it and hearing you tell me how great it is and whatnot. And just I appreciate it. Like I thank you so much.
beautiful. Well, good brother, I sure appreciate you. I thank you. And I'll say this that the words you've shared today are going to benefit many of our listeners. That there's a world of people out there who need to hear how you and your wife and your family have not just figured it out, but become an example of it. Many times in life, the best thing you can do is be an example. Well, from the military, there are two kinds of leaders in my book. There are ones that will point to the hill and say, "Take that hill,"
Yep,
while they sit back. And then
yep.
there are the others that will grab a sword and go running. Let's
And
take
go
that
right
hill. And
there
they
with
go
you. Yep.
running down there.
We taking the hill. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And so what you and your wife have done, man, y'all have run down the hill of relationships and male relationships, as you say, men's health issues, run down the relationships of family and family dynamics and how a man and a woman, how a couple can get past those
Yeah, yeah.
blocks. Yeah, and do what they want to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have had, well, number one, I enjoy what I do because I get to talk to people like Demonte and folks who are doing stuff in the world, folks who are making changes and folks who are changing people's lives. I recommend that you listen to this broadcast with a notebook, with a pad, because in there's so many nuggets that can help you find yourself in this sea of doubt and distractions, that when you can hear some of the words that Devonte has shared and his example of what he's doing, he and his wife and the family, this can inspire you. But one thing, it's like the man who ran the 4 minute mile. Until Roger Bannister hit the 4 minute mile, people thought it was impossible. Once
Possible.
he did it, once he did it, 8 or 9 people did it within a year. And so when you see what Devonte and his wife and the kids have done, it lets you know that it's possible to create a beautiful, harmonic life for you and your family. So this is Dr. Herbert Harris from Success Talk saying you can be what you want to be, you can do what you want to do, you can have anything you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. And so it is.